What was that?
Fuck! FBI, show yourself!
Remedy Entertainment's Alan Wake 2 shakes up what you thought you knew about the series. The first game had many combat segments that were broken up by light exploration and puzzles, gameplay elements that carried over to the upcoming sequel. However, Alan Wake 2 places much more emphasis on survival horror, focusing less on defeating monsters and more on trying to get to your next objective in one piece. The upcoming game takes place in Bright Falls, Washington, and follows FBI profiler Saga Anderson and writer Alan Wake. It showcases the characters in separate chapters. Saga is investigating a string of murders, but ends up entangled in a supernatural horror story written by Alan that she must escape. As an FBI agent, she studies clues and leads gathered from talking to other people or interacting with objects, which helps her decide the next step. This is visually presented as a corkboard that she conjures in her mind. While controlling Saga, you walk around an interdimensional room, pinning files and Polaroid picture evidence to the board to connect the dots. Piecing together the different clues to uncover the next objective made me more actively involved in the plot. This new gameplay mechanic is just one of the many ways that Alan Wake 2 differs from the combat-focused original. Alan's segment has a similarly creepy atmosphere. He navigates the dark place, which resembles a hard-boiled, noir version of New York City. He totes a light-absorbing wand, the angel lamp that has the power to alter the environment. You can use this to your advantage. For example, I discovered that a potentially useful shotgun resided in another room, but there was no obvious way to access it. So I transferred light from a nearby lamppost to get rid of debris blocking the door. It was reminiscent of the time rewind mechanic in Remedy Entertainment's other game, Quantum Break. It's a clever approach to the franchise's light powers that doesn't involve more combat. In the first game, you could take out ghouls with plenty of ammunition to spare. That isn't the case now. You can run out of bullets, which makes enemy avoidance and tactical play essential gameplay elements. It's a much more engaging gameplay experience than simply blasting through creatures. There's a more cohesive vision on display, and no more confusion about whether or not Alan Wake is an action game or a horror game. It's firmly a survival horror game. Enemies are vulnerable to light, so you must use a light source to penetrate their shields, otherwise guns are virtually useless. Previously, Alan's flashlight automatically replenished over time when not in use, and his consumable batteries were emergency backups in case you ran out of juice. Alan Wake 2 increases the stakes by making it so that your battery power doesn't regenerate over time. The combination of scarce ammo and limited battery power creates a fear-inducing atmosphere where you may not be sure you'll survive the next enemy encounter. The overhauled mechanics lend well to its overall oppressive atmosphere. It forced me to change tactics by focusing on surviving instead of destroying every creature in sight. I paid for it dearly whenever I took a third-person shooter approach. Despite the increased challenge, Alan Wake 2 was designed from the very beginning to be a starting point for the series. Yes, it's the first full-length game in the Remedy-connected universe, bringing together the worlds of Control and Alan Wake. And yes, it's absolutely littered with clever references to earlier Remedy games. Despite new features like the Mind Place, a sort of mental palace where you can profile people you've met, review clues, and upgrade your weapons, not to mention the less linear, semi-open world design and aforementioned survival horror elements, this section very much felt like an evolution of the Alan Wake I already know and love. The uncanny Pacific Northwest atmosphere, the moving from set piece to set piece in search of literal keys, the slowly unraveling mysteries. Even the sudden shifts from feeling safe and serene to fighting for my life using my trusty flashlight reminded me of playing the first game, but bigger, more detailed, and more modern. Even my flashlight had a whole new purpose. It could still be used to blast away enemy shields, but it was now more crucially a tool for unlocking new areas of the map and progressing through levels. Using it, near light sources absorbed that light energy and released it somewhere else, dramatically changing the environment and opening brand new pathways to track and backtrack. We've seen the precursors to this mechanic throughout Alan Wake and Alan Wake's American Nightmare, but put into practice in Alan Wake 2, it adds a whole new dimension, literally and figuratively. For example, in my hands-on preview, I found myself doing a lot of light swapping and backtracking, which inevitably forced me to confront waves of enemies I'd evaded before. this time with less ammo, adding a heap of tension and challenge in simply exploring the dark place. I was always begging that whatever path I'd chosen was the right one. If I ended up in another dead end, it could mean having to fight off more enemies, expend more resources, and very possibly die and start over from the last checkpoint. Compare that to the first Alan Wake, in which mobs of easily disposable enemies appear frequently along a strictly linear path, and you'll see what I mean about the profound influence of Control's reality-bending design on Alan Wake 2's gameplay. In my limited experience, there was no progressing through each level without exploring every nook and cranny by necessity alone. 2023 is already a year packed with many memorable releases, including The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and Street Fighter VI. Alan Wake 2 has the potential to join that class. Don't forget to support the channel by buying our printable artwork from our Etsy shop. The link to that is in the description. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.